Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 293, recorded on Friday, March 8th. How the Zoho Tables have turned. My name is Tyler Colt.
And I'm Greg Belnap, and let's get right on into the show.
Let us do it. So, as we mentioned, I think a couple times on the show lately, Brett is in the middle of a move out to Las Vegas from California. So Greg is sitting in here today, as I think Brett's desk broke in half during the move. So he had to get a completely new desk, fully new setup.
Did not hear about that. That's too bad.
He's actually planning on joining today, and then he opened his box and his desk was just completely destroyed. So He thought, hey, rather than doing a standing edition of the CRM Zen Show, that we would tap you in. So thanks for joining, Greg.
Hey, no problem. Although I think it could have been cool to have like a man on the street. You know, Brett could have had his phone and then just outside saying, "What do you think about the latest updates to the finance integration?"
At a furniture store looking for a new desk, asking the sales associate.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, we do have a pretty busy week here, so let us jump on into our announcements and events.
Are you looking into starting a podcast? Or maybe just need some help putting it all together so you could focus on your voice telling your story? Introducing Podcaster Zen. From audio podcasts to video to live streaming a show, we do it all. Head over to podcasterzen.com for more info on how we can help you share your message with the world. Are you struggling to get your team trained in using Zoho effectively? Considering the hefty costs of team meetings and onboarding sessions dedicated to Zoho training, there has to be an easier way. Say hello to efficiency with our Zoho team training courses. Zoho CRM made easy. Become a project management pro, top-tier customer support, and maximize your marketing impact. Are you ready to equip your team? Start today at zenatta.com/training and let us lead the way. This episode of the CRM Zen Show is brought to you by ZPortals. ZPortals is a must-have extension allowing you to effortlessly coordinate with clients and partners. We configure ZPortals all the time for our clients who are looking for the best portal solution. And boy, do we love how easy it is to customize and the flexibility to connect to multiple Zoho apps. So don't wait. Check out ZPortals today and be sure to mention Zenatta to get 10% off your first month.
Alrighty, so let us jump on in. As usual here, not a ton in terms of announcements, but we can, of course, get into our events. So upcoming, just in a couple weeks here, we're going to be doing a Zoho Voice full product tutorial. I'll be recording that one. Some viewers might remember this was previously going to be a Zoho Vault tutorial, but we did have a lot of requests for Zoho Voice, so we thought, hey, let's give people what they want. And then next month, Brett and I are going to be doing a full run through of every single Zoho application. That'll be kind of referencing our resource library where we kind of aggregate all the content and the ratings and the reviews for these applications. So those are definitely things you're going to want to tune into. And then over on the Zoho side, they are staying busy. So over the next couple of weeks, they're going to be doing some sessions on Zoho Click, lots of Zoho social trainings, some CX workshops, some Zoho One workshops. So be on the lookout for all of these. Again, easiest place to find all these events, always going to be over at club.zenatta.com. And then a big shout out to Freddie for one of the first times ever. We have a other event on our page. Freddie found, shout out to Freddie. He found somebody who is doing a webinar here. Looks like maybe kind of a blend of a non-Zoho person with a Zoho person, going over some Zoho Creator low-code magic. So be sure to tune into that. That is going to be on March 27th at 3 a.m. Mountain Time. So maybe you're going to catch that recording if you're here stateside. But nonetheless, shout out to Freddie and shout out to that team for putting together some Zoho content for you all to take a look at. So with that, I think we are ready to jump right on into the news.
Let's do it.
Alrighty, so starting here with a story from YouTube. This is a shout out to Zoho. They actually won an award. Always nice to win awards. I never win any awards, but one day maybe I'll get one. They won an award here from the CX Today group for Best CRM Platform in their CX Awards 2024. They're doing that pretty early. I guess they're just locking in 2024 as of February. So they get to reign as supreme for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, big shout out to Zoho. We've seen them make tons and tons of improvements to the product over time, and it is well deserved that they're getting some recognition here.
Yeah, I was surprised that HubSpot wasn't a player in this one.
Yeah.
HubSpot wasn't even nominated, but you had that was just a surprise to me. Like I would have thought that they were just a really big player. But
yeah, I think
maybe
a lot of these
maybe they
find the nominees. There we go.
Because you got Freshworks, Salesforce, Sugar CRM, and Zoho.
Yeah,
I don't know, but
there's a missing name there, right?
does HubSpot not, maybe in their mind, does it not qualify quite as a CRM? Because it's like
no, a lot of it
can
is
have a CRM, but it's not like the main pull of it, I guess.
I think it's more based on like how these types of award systems work. Most of these companies like CX Today, like there's some type of buy-in to be considered for an award. Like that's how Gartner, all of their rating system works. So like you'll see Zoho CRM will be highly ranked on some like Gartner quadrant analyses, right? Where they kind of rank these different apps. And then on some of them, Zoho is just totally missing. Like it's not even considered. A lot of these require some type of, kind of opt-in buy-in, specifically like paying them to be considered.
And ante up.
So, yeah, once you've anteed up, it's a fair race, right? And everyone's got to compete. But there is definitely that choice where HubSpot might have said, you know what, we're going to skip this one and not worry about it. But that would be my guess. I don't know specifically with CX Today. I could be wrong in them in particular, but I know a lot of these ranking systems, it's pretty much there is an ante up before you're entered for consideration. Nonetheless, a good group of CRMs, and shout out to Zoho for coming out as the winner. Well deserved by the CRM team.
I agree.
All righty. And with that, we can jump into our first proper news story here. Here we are on the community page that you're also used to seeing. So this is one from Zoho Projects collaborating visually with Whiteboard. So essentially, this is like a quick little drag and drop builder that you can use in projects. Greg, I know you were kind of poking around in the documentation here. Does this speak to you in any way? It seems kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of using things like a whiteboard for. I think it makes sense to have it in projects because if you have, for example, like I'm thinking about our workflow, if I had to sort of like map out like a data relations diagram or something like that for one of my developers, that's like, all right, we need to make some databases that link this record to this one, using a whiteboard with those kind of drag and drop options could make that much easier to get your point across. And it's a little bit easier than having to, like open up a separate window for, Miro or whatever, build it, Lucidchart, build it, copy it, download it, upload it. Whereas with this attachment, you can just kind of do all in one spot, which sounds pretty nice. But yeah, so I think it just depends on if you or your compatriots are more visual learners, then this would be a great tool. And what's really funny about this post, though, is that you can see that we've already got the community chiming in with, "Hey, that sounds really cool." You know what could make it even better? Because right now it looks like it's a marketplace app that will allow you to create a whiteboard from the Documents tab, and which
the documents within like comments or tasks or a few different places. It's all through like the Documents list.
Yeah, which I've never loved the Documents tab in projects.
I actually will go so far to say I dislike the way that the Documents tab work. I normally just create like a WorkDrive folder and link it to the project and never touch like native documents if I can help it.
So I am curious if these whiteboards, when you save them, are they saved only in like the native documents area, or can you connect it to WorkDrive in some way? That would be ideal. Really, what they should really do is they just need this whiteboard tool to exist in WorkDrive. It should just be a WorkDrive additive.
Yeah, they recently rolled out that new product, and I just wish so much it was just a type of WorkDrive document, right, rather than a separate app. One thing that will be interesting to see is that it looks like it's saving this as like a PDF when you're done. So like a lot of the times when I make a document like this, it's a live document. It's going to change over the course of like build out. Like I just spun one up for a client the other day, just mapping out a couple quick things about their e-commerce integration. That document's going to look a lot different in 2 months as we continue to adjust and tweak and add new pieces to the integration. So it will be interesting to see if this is something that I can come back to and edit, or if I'm like attaching a hard copy and it's one and done. I would imagine there's got to be some edit functionality, but we'll have to play around with it just a little bit to see how that works.
Yeah.
Alrighty, jumping into our next story here. This is one that I'm pretty excited about. So Zoho's rolling out a new app. It's actually been a little while since we've had a new app. I think the last new one was FSM. It would have been like last that's been part of the Zoho One ecosystem. So they are rolling out Zoho Tables. So think Monday, think Airtable, think Smart Sheets, right? This is a like tabular-based workflow management system that is, cloud-based, has a REST API, has the ability to automate actions. I think it's kind of built on top of Creator. It's a separate app, but it looks like they've kind of used some of the back end and shared that across. I'm really into this. I like working with things as rows and columns. They've got like that kind of quick change of a view, right? Make it a card, make it a Kanban. Looks pretty slick so far, and I could definitely imagine a lot of people being interested in this. I've seen a lot of love for Monday. Talking to people that are thinking about Zoho, and a lot of them are in a position where it's like, hey, maybe we'll just use Zoho CRM and keep Monday for our project management stuff because we just like that rows and columns. It's simple, it's pretty. And so this might be something that would allow those people to move over and save a little bit of money on the subscription fees.
Yeah. And me and the developers, we watched sort of an early access launch of Tables. I want to say it was like 2 or 3 months ago, something like that. And it's pretty slick and easy to use on the back end as well. For like, there's just a couple of properties you can pass in that will, determine whether or not your table has this feature enabled or disabled. From a coding perspective, obviously this one, the actual app and product that they're selling here is it's a low code, right? I don't know if you can you actually write code in
I think you can trigger
Tables?
I think you can trigger like some deluge actions if I remember correctly. So like, hey, the status of this row goes to X, so trigger this flow. So kind of lightweight on the front end, but relatively low code for setting up your like core usage of the tool.
I like looking through the GIFs that they've got here, that there's a calendar view. I think that could be really useful. Maybe some scheduling apps that will remain nameless could maybe resurface themselves as Zoho Tables
Very
apps.
True.
I don't know.
Very true. Could happen. But yeah, definitely a cool one. We'll probably be getting a video out on this pretty soon here, kind of a full walkthrough of how this works and how to use it. But in the meantime, definitely take a look. I'm pretty sure, and I'm not seeing it on here specifically, but I'm pretty darn sure this one will be a part of Zoho One when it does fully release. So keep an eye out for that. If I'm wrong, don't sue me, but I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a Zoho One included application. So yeah, shout out to Zoho. This is a good one. It honestly fills that gap that I think Monday is filling for a lot of people. And as it gets more feature complete, I'm sure we'll see people looking to switch over.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
And
next,
even if you're,
go ahead.
and by the way, just even if you're not a Zoho One person, just taking a quick glance at their pricing page, see that you can have it for free for 2 users, and then the professional edition is $4 per user per month if you have 3 or more licenses.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, even if it's not going to be included in Zoho One, that's a pretty easy tack on.
Yeah, unlimited workspaces, unlimited bases. So yeah, not something that's going to kill the budget. Definitely a affordable option there for project management needs.
Yeah.
Alrighty, jumping into our next story. So this, whenever I see the word regex, my eyes glaze over, my head starts to hurt, and I don't want to look at it anymore.
And my ears perk up, and my eyes get all wide and sparkly. So you
how about
I have very different
this one
reactions.
up, and then I shut up for a minute here. So this is in Zoho Desk. This is now you've got the ability to implement regex for layout and validation rules. So Greg, take us through this one if you don't mind, just to keep my sanity intact talking about regex.
Absolutely. So for anyone who is not familiar with regex, it's a language of sorts, sort of a cipher, if you will, of ways to represent strings in kind of generic little blocks so that you can essentially you use regex for either comparing strings to a certain format or structure, or for even manipulating and like replacing values in certain strings. So
for
example,
string for the non-developers who wouldn't call it a string is basically just a text. So
an
email address is a string, like a paragraph of words in a ticket is a string, like anything that is like text and or numbers based that you can't do math with is encoded as what's called a string value.
Exactly.
And that's what
so for example,
on.
So for example, in the context of desk, let's say that you want to create some kind of layout rule that if maybe your desk tickets come in and you have to assign like some kind of number or maybe some kind of ID, like a product ID, something like that. You could set up regex to check for like somewhere in the body of the email thread, for example, am I finding a word that matches, and you can like, or if you had to look for like a particular type of ID number, right? I know that I'm looking for an ID number in subject lines that it always starts with PS, and then it's either 5 or 6 numbers after that.
Looking for like a serial code, right? Serial number that you have a particular format for.
Something like that. And so without having to do a, does it contain the number 1 or the number 2 or the number 3? You just say, okay, I want to match if this subject line has the letters PS followed by 5 or 6 numbers, and then it can give you, a positive, a true or false result from that.
Got it. And so it looks like here we'll be able to use these regex expressions in 2 new ways. So one, in layout rules in Desk are essentially showing and hiding fields. They give kind of a weird example here, but it works, so I'll share it. They're saying, you could have a layout rule looking for a credit card number. Generally not something I want to receive in a desk ticket for a security reason. But let's say that's secure. So you could essentially say, hey, if we identify a credit card number, which should be 16 numbers in a row, then we know this contains that, and then we could show like an expiration date. Another example being a validation rule. So this is more honestly where I see layout rules getting used is more on validation than it is on layout rules for regex. But so essentially this is now the ability to say like, let's say the user is going to type in a credit card number that they're getting over the phone. You could actually check that field as they're typing it and say like, hey, this doesn't look like a credit card number. This is an email address, right? This is not a credit card number. So you'll be able to essentially create those rules to validate the inputs. Again, you could do this in the past, but without regex, you get into a situation where you're writing a big long if statement to basically like check for things in a text field, and it's not
like,
very efficient.
Or it's like 5 nested if statements because it's like a single. You have like a single line to go. Okay, if this, then not this. Then that means if not this, if this.
We could also check this, and if neither of those are true, we also need to check this. Whereas regex will be a lot simpler. So yeah, this is really nice. I mean, I always joke when regex comes up, if you're watching us on YouTube, right, you can see like it just looks like nonsense when you type it. You know, like, what is this validating? I have no idea. I can understand this one, right? We're looking for a decimal 16 of them. You know, that's all good. But nonetheless, very useful tool, very developer friendly, and very universal. So more people will be able to use it.
Yeah. Now, speaking of regex, before we move on, I haven't tried using ChatGPT very much for like trying to write regex.
It would probably do a great job,
but it would probably do a pretty good job if you were to. So if you wanted to use this, but you're like, I don't want to learn regex, you could probably take that through ChatGPT and tell ChatGPT, I need a regex expression that checks for this in plain English terms, and then it would spit out something for you. Then you could take that to, there's websites that can like, where you can like run tests, where you can like put in a regular expression, and then you put in some testing text to like see, okay, is it returning the results that I was expecting? And so just saying, make sure you verify. Trust, but verify.
Yep, there it is. Alrighty, jumping into our next story here. We got a couple of quick ones on the back end. So this is a quick update from DataPrep. So they are now rolling out HIPAA compliance for DataPrep. Zoho's been doing this procedurally for many apps: CRM, Desk, Creator, I think Analytics, now Zoho DataPrep. This basically just means that you can now activate certain settings that allow you to be HIPAA compliant. So if you're working with any like health-centric data, this is a very good habit. Actually, it's more than a habit. You must do this. This better be your habit. So essentially now you're able to mark certain columns as, HIPAA relevant data. So here they're showing like, we got a name, we have an age, we have a blood type. Okay, yeah, blood type, that's going to be HIPAA compliant. What this means in practice is much deeper audit trails, much deeper controls about like who can export, who can import. The general mobility and portability of the data is a big part of this. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see kind of some of the settings, right? So securing them before export, requiring an extra password if someone's going to export any of this data, restricting it via API, restricting it via other Zoho app syncs. So pretty comprehensive, pretty necessary if you're planning on using this to manage any of that health data. Big shout out to Zoho. Always nice. I'll tell you, like talking to prospects thinking about Zoho, there are some that are like, I'm using these 4 apps. I need all of them to be HIPAA compliant or we can end the call early, right? It's like, I cannot, and I don't blame them. They cannot go forward if it's not compliant. So this is one of those things where it's a total showstopper when it's a problem. So always happy to see Zoho adding HIPAA compliance to more applications.
Absolutely. Yeah, good on them. And there's also, I believe that when it comes to the HIPAA compliance, there's also some further back-end encryption that they also do if there's ever exchanging of data between Zoho apps. I think it adds additional layers to prevent middleman attacks and things like that.
Perfect. Alrighty, jumping over to our next story. So update here for CRM, couple updates around the books and subscriptions integrations. So essentially, they've listed out some of the challenges here. So people were unable to send emails using their own email addresses. This can be a pain in the butt when you're sending emails from CRM. It's always going to want to default to the master email. Then you have to set them up as a sender and blah, blah, blah. There's also been some issues around syncing records and making sure that the usernames are correct on both sides. Big one here, and I hope they keep going down this rabbit hole, but permissions on both sides is a big problem. So I actually just had someone point this out to me the other day. In Zoho Books, they have a field on a sales order for the total margin. And that field does not need to be seen by everyone. It just needs to be seen by a certain subset of people. But anybody who has access to the finance related list in CRM can open a sales order and see all of the data, regardless of what the field permissions are on the book side. He showed me that on the call. He's a long-term client. You probably know who you are if you're listening. And yeah, he pointed that out to me. I was like, what, really? What do you mean? I went in and checked. It's it is that way. So yeah, hopefully that is getting resolved here in this update. Another one is if you can't create call it an invoice in Books, but you can see the related list in CRM, you can now create an invoice in Books. So these are things that not everyone even notices are issues, but larger companies that need to make sure every loophole is closed. Yeah, super important. So a couple of the updates here, they've added integration users. So all that this means is that if somebody does not need to be a full Books user, you can just add them as an integration user. So this would allow them to view, create, edit records within the estimates module. Looks like this is specific to the estimates module right now. They would only have view access to some of the other modules. So again, this is kind of nice just as a way to limit how many people need to go into Books. Right. For a lot of organizations, salespeople only are going to ever work with estimates. And then once that's accepted, they're done and they're off to getting the next estimate closed. Big one is the permission management. So it looks like the things I mentioned are now solved. Basically, the field permissions, the creating of records, all of that. So now permissions should essentially be synced between the two. Sounds like you are going to need to make sure that all of them are added as integration users, which will happen automatically at a certain point when they migrate over. This is really nice. It's a need to have, right? It's kind of a showstopper in some cases. They're also working a little, they didn't mention at the top, but on the Zoho subscription integration. So they've updated a few different things. So they've added a new subscriptions module into CRM. That's nice. I mean, I will tell you that this is something that we generally create for people. So the fact that they're going to do it for us, absolutely. Absolutely. I want that. You can, do all your normal related lists, custom views, all that good stuff. They've also added some default reports if you have the subscription integration turned on. They've added some new tabs around for analytics. So new dashboards, new permissions. All around good stuff. I do they're going to have to solve eventually in subscriptions once and for all the duplicate issue, right? Where it really loves creating duplicate customers. That's always my only concern is it almost sometimes I would prefer to not integrate subscriptions with CRM and then just write a piece of code that does that integration, because then I know there's never going to be a duplicate. It is just one of those things that it's a thorn in my side. It's actually the driver for why you had found that secret API endpoint inside of Books to run the Books merge, the customer merge.
That's right.
You guys found that? Yeah, you just hammered every potential API that might work, and then one of them did.
We found it.
So yeah, good updates here. The big one is just that permission sync. That is an absolute showstopper for people who have private information on invoices or sales orders. So big shout out to the team for getting that done.
And did you scroll all the way to the bottom of the post to the PS?
You know what? Okay, so they're going to say, this is exactly who told this to me. Is Kevin Flynn, one of our community MVPs. He showed me this on a call and it was like, huh? You said what? Shout out to Kevin for driving this forward.
Good on
well-deserved shout out here. Alrighty, next update. I think this is our last news story. This one we can go through kind of quickly. We talked in detail about Kiosk Studio last week. This is essentially a way to manage process across the entirety of your CRM as one consistent flow. All this is they're just updating that it is out of early access and it is now available for all customers in all data centers. This is one that we're going to have some video content on shortly for everybody, so be on the lookout for that. This is a big update. This is really similar to I think they call them process flows inside of Salesforce. Essentially, the benefit here is just, if you think about a blueprint works on one module at a time. So there can be this issue of a salesperson works a blueprint to, work a lead and convert it. And then it kind of goes into this nebulous deals module. They need to go in there and find it and start working it. Kiosk is essentially trying to merge processes from all the different modules into one consistent flow. So I'm just working on selling Greg. I don't care if Greg is a lead right now or a deal right now. That's his overall process. And I can always just find that and move it forward. So again, we've run a little long on the news. We don't have to go too deep into this, but just know it is out in all data centers, and we'll have a video on this coming soon for everybody to take a look at.
Very cool.
So with that, I think we're ready to jump on into our implementation of the week. Alrighty, so this is a build out that was driven by George and Andrew on our consulting and development team, respectively. This is essentially an implementation we did to auto-generate referral codes and then assign QR codes that would link, someone who scanned the QR to our customer's website with that referral code attached, so they can know various stakeholders that are sending them inbound leads. So again, our goal was that essentially when a customer signs up, we had an integration set up that will create them as a customer, link them to their WooCommerce record, and et cetera, et cetera. But what we wanted to do is essentially also make sure we created them as a referrer and assign them a particular code based on their name. So we did have some specific requirements that the goal was to make the code pretty easy. So we wanted to be close to their name. So we're kind of using data from that contact record to create the QR code and the referral code. And so once our referral code is created, we run a quick check against the system to make sure that it's unique, right? It doesn't take long for a business to have two customers named John Smith, right? It can happen way faster than you would think. So, if let's say their referral code is just going to be an acronym, JS, right? Well, that's going to be used pretty darn quickly. So as part of this function, we essentially search for the referral code before we lock it in, so to speak. And if we find any, we'll add numbers to it and kind of parameterize it to make it unique and then lock in that code. Then we use a service provided by Rapid API where we can shoot over a URL and it will respond with a QR code. Works absolutely great. Then we can take that QR code, store it on the customer record, create it in WorkDrive so that we can have an easily downloadable link that they can send to a printer. And then they are off to the races. And when any future people scan that QR code, if they end up subscribing, that subscribe will be associated with that original customer, which entitles them to some discounts, some special treatment, as a referrer. So big shout out to the team. This one had a lot of steps that we're not going to go all the way into detail today. I mean, we're reaching into WooCommerce API, WordPress API, lots of different things to kind of connect all the dots here. But yeah, big shout out to the team, to both of these guys for getting it done. I know our customer is excited to start using this.
Very, very cool.
Awesome.
All right.
With that, let us jump over into Greg's domain here, our code share of the week.
Yes, this week's code share comes from it was a requirement by one of our consultants, George, who he had a client that needed to generate a small encryption key or a password to attach to some kind of record in Zoho Creator. And so he petitioned me for a random string generator. So
okay.
if you find yourself in need of a random assortment of letters, numbers, and special characters, that's what this is for.
I find myself in that position constantly.
I know.
Every day.
Don't we all? So essentially what this does, hey, even if you don't need this, if you are somebody who's trying to get better at Deluge, read through this and just if you can understand what it's doing, I think it'll make you that much better a coder.
Good point.
Because essentially what it's doing is I I have a collection of all the letters of the alphabet, and then a collection of special characters. And then I do a for each loop where however long, like I have a password length variable up at the very top of how long this should be. And then essentially I create a bunch of random numbers and then use those numbers to make decisions of, all right, should my first character be a letter, a number, or a special character? All right. If it's a letter, should it be uppercase or lowercase? And then randomly pick a letter from 1 to 26. Same thing with the special characters. If I am going to do a special character, let's just pick a random special character out of those, however many I have in there.
You kind of up at the top, you had all those defined. So you're saying like, this is the acceptable list of letters. This is the acceptable list of specials, right? And then you're essentially just querying against those.
Exactly. So in the second paragraph of the introduction for it, I note that something that this snippet doesn't guarantee. So it does guarantee how long the overall password will be. This one doesn't have any things that guarantee that you'll have a minimum number of special characters or letters or numbers. But you could certainly enhance your script using Regex, we were talking about earlier, to actually check and see, all right, let me try generating a string. Does it match the parameters that I need one of these strings to have?
Got it.
But yeah, so again, someone somewhere is going to be happy. And if it helps one person, then it'll be worth it.
That is the thing in our code share here over at club.zenatta.com. Is, some of these are going to be used by like everybody, right? Like someone here, actually, I don't know if this was us or was this JP. This is Joel made a request and someone else responded, like something like, hey, a custom button creating quotes from deals. Yeah, lots and lots of people are going to use that. Some of these are more niche. The beauty is they're all here and they're all free. So useful place to come in and find it. I always joke, when I was first learning Deluge, you end up on a lot of different forums, right? And someday someone is going to need to generate a random string. They're going to be completely stuck. They're going to go down the Google rabbit hole and they're going to find this and they're going to sing your praises. So big shout out to Greg and the team for keeping this stuff up to date. We love sharing all this with you guys every single week. So with that, let us jump over to what's new on Zenatta.com. Alrighty, so this is a great article here written up by Wayne. We get asked this all the time, and it is essentially, what are UTM parameters and how do we use them in Zoho? So UTM parameter is an urchin tracking metric, right, isn't it? Or urchin tracking module is what that stands for. Essentially,
I've
what
never
they're used
heard
for is like, it's a weird one.
Urchin? Like a sea urchin?
Yeah, like 95% sure it's called an urchin tracking module.
Okay.
And so what these are essentially like things that go on a URL when you click through to identify where you're coming from. And one of the most primary use cases of them is for tracking Google Ads, right? So like UTM campaign, UTM source, term, medium, and Zoho CRM has a pre-built Google Ads integration. So a lot of people think, great, I'll just use that. I'm good to go. Here's where you're wrong. It doesn't work very well. You have to use the CRM web forms, kind of clunky. It can be pretty inconsistent. So what we always recommend is exactly what this article walks you through, which is setting up the UTMs inside of Zoho Forms, passing them over to CRM via the integration just into some custom fields. And then in the future, you can use those to report on anything that happens with that lead, whether it's close one deal, we lost it, we converted it, etc., using Zoho Analytics to combine it with your Google Ads data. So yeah, great one to go through. The biggest ones to pull in are always going to be like source and campaign. Ad list is good too, or what is it called? I think it's called ad list. Is a good one to grab, but really like anything that you're passing through is going to be great. Then from there, again, you'll have everything inside of Zoho and you can use it in whichever reports you may need. So yeah, great write-up by Wayne. Again, hopefully this will answer people's questions because we do get asked this a lot. It's not obvious in Zoho that this is the best way to do it. But wait, there's more. It's a double header day. We also have a new case study up on the website from Chris Eric over at Fired Up Culture. These guys are a professional services organization that help companies manage their internal culture, make sure people are happy, get some feedback on the leadership. We use them as we're a client of them, they're a client of us. We actually both use each other's services. So yeah, big shout out to Chris. We work with them for a couple years now on their Zoho install. Always a joy to work with these guys. So yeah, jump on over to the website and take a look at our newest case study.
Yeah,
all right, with that,
we are the lamprey. We are the lamprey to their great white.
I'll take it. I will take it. With that, I think we're ready to jump over to our tip of the week. Alrighty, so tip of the week this week comes from Wayne Martin, our director of marketing. He is running through a new feature inside of Zoho Marketing Automation 2.0, all centered around product recommendation. So this is like integrating with Shopify or an e-commerce site to essentially look at some of the products that someone has purchased and then potentially market to them based on those products. So we're kind of coming in, we're setting up a unique type of campaign, right? That we're using an e-commerce campaign. And then using that now, we can actually pull over like product listings and anything that's available on the Shopify side. We are seeing, like, for a long time, I've always recommended people use campaigns, not marketing automation. We're definitely seeing now that like Zoho is not really updating campaigns a lot. A lot of the new features are coming direct to marketing automation. So it's almost getting to be time. The Band-Aid might need to be ripped off. Might almost be time to start moving over. But this is a really nice feature. Got a quick video walkthrough here for you guys on how to do it. Definitely recommend that you take a look as this is something that a lot of e-commerce sellers would love to have.
Yeah. It's not the best situation where our head of marketing, has to sort of keep thinking they have two apps that do almost the same thing.
Yeah.
Which one should I be recommending to people? So it would be nice if Zoho could get those all nice and aligned, just on the same page.
It's like the other day I was looking for functionality to like manage email campaigns and the signatures that go out on email campaigns much more granularly than just by like pulling over the default lead owner. And I landed on a help guide for marketing automation that showed that they had just released exactly what I needed, not released in campaigns. Or like that was my thoughts exactly, Greg. Or like last week they rolled out in a marketing automation sequence or like journey, you can post a webhook now. You can just make an action that posts a webhook, right? Which means you could do whatever you want at that point.
Yeah.
Not in campaigns. So they're definitely starting to put those features exclusively into marketing automation. The day of Band-Aid ripping is coming. Maybe not yet, but definitely soon. All right. Alrighty, and last story here, our newest section of the show. Let us get into our question of the week. No, I still think before you go through this, I still think maybe answer of the week, right? Because it is a question, but it's also an answer. And I feel like the answer is really where all the value is. So this is our weekly series of Zaz, where we answer questions that we get from all over the Zoho sphere. Greg, you're the host of this one, so I will let you take it away and share with us what we're talking about here today.
Yeah, this is me talking with one of our developers, Jason, making his channel debut, talking about yes, shout out to Jason, talking about how to upload files to WorkDrive using Zoho Forms. This is specifically somebody who had a question where they wanted to upload a new version of a file so that the file's permalink stays the same, but so then you don't have to update the link everywhere that link may be referenced.
Good question. That's a good question.
And so how to upload, to just that same version, to upload a new version in the same file space, pulling it in from Zoho Forms, so that just to help them save some clicks of having to go, into WorkDrive, clicking on the file, clicking upload new version, clicking upload. When instead they can just open up a Zoho form, put in, these are all attached, just like a contact record. So just putting in somebody's email address and then uploading the file to an upload field and then hitting submit. And then it'll all get taken care of on the back end.
Very nice. Yeah, it's one of those things where like if you automate it, but every time that it runs, you need to go in and get the new URL. It's not really automated, right? You still have to go in and do it. So yeah, good usage of like the file version API. That's like the perfect way to do it, right? Because you're essentially saying it's the same file ID, it's the same URL. I'm just kind of updating it or replacing it.
Just updating the content.
I didn't even know that version API existed. Oh, I got a perfect freeze frame. Let's hold it on that one. So yeah, make sure everybody, we do love answering these questions for you. Leave them over there at club.zenatta.com and we'll either answer it via text or you can be featured for one of our questions of the week and even maybe an answer of the week if we're feeling generous. So with that, I think we are ready to wrap it up for the week. Thank you, as always, Greg, for jumping in and helping out. Always appreciate having you on the show.
Happy to be
thanks
here
again.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for Brett's desk. Just
rest in peace, desk.
Yeah, I question if it actually broke during the move, or if I think Brett maybe just karate chopped it. I think he was practicing his Taekwondo moves, and he just split it right down the middle. And I believe it. He's embarrassed of how strong he is.
I could see it. Yep, that's what I'm going to go with. That's my headcanon now. Alrighty, and with that, let's wrap it up for the week. Thank you, everybody, again for tuning in for the week. If you want to get in touch with myself, Josh, Greg, Brett, anyone on the Zenatta team, just head over to zenatta.com and click on book a meeting. On the website is where you'll also find full episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. Last but not least, on my side here, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter if you want that news delivered to your inbox every single Monday morning.
And over at zenatta.com, you can also check out the full resource library, subscribe to our newsletter. Head over to club.zenatta.com, which we mentioned a couple of times here on the show. Allows you to connect with other Zoho users, as well as posing questions that could be featured on the show here. And we also have our team training courses. Head over to zenatta.com/training so you can get your team trained up on the core Zoho apps in less than a week's time.
Awesome. And as always, we appreciate when you like and subscribe here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We will see you next Friday.